Do you consider summative assessment as a tool that only assesses what students know in a specific season? Have you thought of ways to make it more valuable to students' learning? Would you find it more productive if summative assessment was more informative? Summative assessment are usually internal or external standardized exams that are used to establish students' achievement after they have been exposed to a period of learning. This usually gives rounded grades that mark students' accomplishment during a specific window of time without considering any other influencing factors. Let's explore how summative assessment can be used to establish areas of strengths and development in students' learning profile, and how this can be used to direct their future learning. Summative assessment is usually used primarily as a glorious point of students' accomplishment when the assessment was administered. It then becomes a new baseline that determines their potential for the next window of summative assessment, oblivious of the ever-present altering factors that students are exposed to and their influences on students' outcomes. Summative assessment data becomes a fixed comparative point of reference that most students outgrow over time. When using summative assessment as a baseline, it is worth teachers understanding the conditions under which the assessments were administered and the period of input running up to the assessment period in order to determine its credibility. To get the best out of summative assessment, teachers need to analyze the information to establish the general and subject-specific skills that should be expected from students attaining that summative assessment score, and explore how to establish that those prerequisites are in place and plan a learning journey of how the students are most likely to get to the targeted platform by the next summative assessment period. When summative assessments are completed and marked, there are always glaring commonalities with students from specific schools when done externally, or from specific teaching groups when done internally. This could be indicative of teaching methodologies, misconceptions, or other factors. The generic evaluation model seeks to identify the minimum set of objectives through questions in which students share a consistent lack of conceptualization. The model then ensures the reteaching of those objectives in full lessons or incorporated in parts of the learning over a period of teaching. This approach supports the development of better understanding, eradication of misconceptions, and quality modeling of learning for students in the assessed cohort and subsequent cohorts. When students undergo summative assessment, the key importance to them is the score or grade that they have achieved. Nevertheless, teachers can treat these as internal assessments or diagnostic tools for students to improve their overall learning and achievement. Developing a question-level analysis allows teachers to see the areas of development for each student and support them in planning for those students' needs in a more personalized manner. It allows students the opportunity to see their areas for development, and when incorporated into learning platforms, it gives students the added incentive to become more proactive in supporting their performance and their personal development. Additionally, teachers can better see their classes' collective performance, exploring their areas of strengths and their developmental needs, and are able to plan for these progressively. When summative assessments are completed, this gives faculty an opportunity to use quality level analysis to appraise teachers' performance and establish areas of strengths and areas for development in teaching over a variety of objectives and units. They are then able to have faculty pedagogical discussions exploring how to ensure quality first teaching across these objectives of concern to better impact students' outcomes. This should not be used as a critical judgment of teachers because there are always factors that will affect the performance of students that does not exactly link to their teaching exposure. However, exploring ways of delivery that improves pedagogy and students' outcomes is always advantageous in the educational environment. Any assessment used expertly can become formative assessment. Teachers can use them to inform their planning, their resourcing, activities for learning, and support them in meeting the needs of students in their learning environment. In fact, the best measure of most successful teachers, faculties, and institutions is their ability to use a range of assessments to make learning more accessible for their students and to enrich their learning experiences whilst enhancing their achievements. How do you currently use your summative assessment? Which of these approaches will you use for your next summative assessment?